R.O.O.T.S.
What is your job title?
I'm a retired educator, former teacher, principal, and superintendent. I was superintendent of Sunflower County Schools for 10 years.
What motivated you to become a teacher / principal, etc.?
Just making a difference in the lives of the young people in Sunflower County.
How is Mississippi history impacting the lives of young people today?
Well, as an educator and coming up through basically the 60s to the present, Mississippi has impacted the lives of young people because coming from a rural area, and for me being an example to show that even though you're from a rural area that with lack of resources, that you still can be successful.
What gives you hope?
Young people having more of an opportunity than I had when I came along. There are a lot more opportunities today for young people than my period of time coming up in this community.
What is your primary goal as a teacher?
Primary goal is just to continue, even in the capacity as a retired educator, to make a difference in the lives of young people through giving them guidance and leading by example.
What specifically are you doing at your school doing to support this goal?
Just being available for young people to be a consultant to them if they have a passion to be an educator, to be able to instill in them the importance of having integrity and furthering their education the best they can, to be the best that they can be. If you're going to be an educator, try to be the best that you can be.
What school discipline policy do you employ?
Basically, first giving children an opportunity to redeem themselves if they make mistakes, because students do make mistakes, but also being even-handed in the way you discipline students. Not to make exceptions for students because of their economic background or what type of family they come from. Just treating students right and giving them an opportunity to correct their behavior if they should have behavior problems, but to understand that the big picture is that you can't learn if you're out of school, that you have to be in school. So I'm a proponent of strong discipline, but students have to understand that they're in school for a reason, and that's not to disrupt the normal activity of the school day, but to be able to learn. And the only way you can learn is to be in school and not be out of school for behavioral reasons.
What is your role in keeping your community safe?
I would suppose having an open dialogue with the police department and those people who are responsible for law enforcement, to be able to just be able to speak to law enforcement, but also get them to understand that they don't need to be in a position of being a threat to young people, but let them know that they're here to protect them and to be keep the community safe. But not necessarily policing does not mean for them to abuse their power. And I think that the Ruleville Police Department now, where I live, is making an effort now to be more visible in the community and also develop relationships with the young people in the community.
Okay. A lot of African American male students in the Delta will spend some of their school years in prison. How do you think this impacts their lives and their community?
Well, it'll impact their lives in a negative way. And it's no way being incarcerated can be positive. And what we have to do as older citizens of this community is to continue to encourage our young people to get an education. Because without an education, you'll end up, the streets will just suck up our young people and they will end up being incarcerated. And so most of our young people, if they're incarcerated and they come back into the community without any skill sets, then the only thing you're going to end up doing is going back into prison. So the best way to have an impact on your community is get an education, whether it be formal college or technical training, but getting an education. That's so important.
What do you want the world to know about African American young men in the Delta?
That there is a lot of hope for our young men to make a difference in this world, but they need to be given an opportunity, and that's what it's about now, is having an opportunity. But it's also about our young men taking advantage of the opportunity, because there are opportunities out there for our young folks. They have to take advantage of them, and that's by taking advantage of the instruction they're given at school and moving beyond high school into college and the technical school. But having hope is not enough. Our young folk have to take advantage of the opportunities that they're presented.
What advice do you have for African American young men?
Get a good education. Bottom line, be a person of character, be a person of integrity, and be able to be an example to the people that's younger than you. And that's what I've always tried to do and exemplify in this community where I live. I've lived in Ruleville all my life. And I want young men such as yourselves to be able to look at me and say, I want to be like him. And so everything that I do, I try to make sure that it's something that I won't be embarrassed about. That you can look at me and say, there is hope. If he could succeed with less resources coming up in a time he did, then what's the excuse for someone in 2016 not being successful and not going on to school? If I was able to go to school in the 50s and the 60s through all the way up to the 90s and continue to get more degrees, what's your excuse for not going? There is no excuse, none at all, for young people getting a good education.
Is there anything you would like us to know that you would like to share?
I would, and especially not just African American, but our young men. You need to be able to dream big, and by dreaming big, you got to do more than just dream. You got to be able to get out there and actively try to be successful and want to do something. All of our young people, you know, we look at sports, that may be fine for some folk, but the majority of us will not excel in sports and have that as a lifestyle. But once you get an education, nobody can take that away from you. And that's something that I constantly preach to any young men that I have an opportunity to talk to, is that you dream big, but don't just dream. If you reach for the stars. I mean, and that means just there is no limit on what you can do. You limit yourself. If you don't want to do anything, then you won't do anything. But if you dream big and say you want to become something, you can do it. But nothing in this life worth having is given to you. You have to earn it. Those people that you look around and you see who are somewhat successful, nobody just gave it to them. They had to work hard, they had to study, they had to go to school.